My name's Joey Eshelman. So I grew up just outside of Chicago in a really small farm town. Originally from the Bay Area of California, but moved when I was really little. So that's really all I know.
Tell me some of the challenges you faced growing up as a child.
Well, like I said, I was in a very small town, 1,500 people. My high school was 4 towns put together, and we still only had 77 in my graduating class. Clearly being a gay man in that town wasn't something that it would be as accepted as it is maybe now, because it was the 90s. So knowing those things about yourself makes it very hard to be who you are in your young adolescence when everybody else is thriving, doing things and dating and doing those things, and you're not really truly being yourself. So I would say that. Oh yeah, suppressed. I had a girlfriend who, funnily enough, is now an open lesbian and has children, and it kind of made sense that we both gravitated towards each other because we were both trying to be something that we weren't. It's crazy. Kids can pick up on things that maybe you don't know about yourself. It probably didn't help that I was in gymnastics and being in a small town. Male gymnasts weren't really a thing. It was a girls' thing. So that compiled with maybe being a little more feminine or flamboyant and not really realizing that that's what I was being. I would say probably 3rd or 4th grade. You start getting teased. And then it kind of subsided a little bit through junior high, but then high school, I knew that about myself, so I'm suppressing it. So I'm overcautious and maybe telling more about myself than I wanted to be putting out there. But again, people picked up on it and you start to get teased again. So I'd say junior or 3rd grade and then all the way through high school probably.
That's tough to deal with, especially in this grade.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny that they knew what it was. Like, kids knew what it was. And we were 8 years old. And they knew that it was, they thought they knew that it was bad. So it was the end of my freshman year of college. My parents had kind of been catching me in some lies about what I was doing, where I was, who I was hanging out with. And then I finally was home visiting for one weekend, and I just decided I had to tell them. But I didn't. I'm not a confrontational person. I don't like to I didn't want to say it to their face. So I decided to write them a letter. But that entire last day that I was there, I was on edge and just extra irritable, and they picked up on it. And so I kept saying, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's nothing. And then so finally I blew up about something, and I said, you'll find out once I leave. And so of course my mom was like, what do you mean? I'll find out when you leave. And I had written a letter and I left it in her jewelry box, knowing that at the end of the night when she takes her jewelry off and puts it away, she'll see it and I will be long gone back to school and I don't have to deal with it, maybe over a phone call, or maybe they surprised me at school, I don't know. But I still had time to figure out what was gonna happen. She said, no, go get that letter and come and sit in the living room. So she sat down with my dad in the living room, and I watched them read this letter where I came out to them. And I was crying, and they were just in shock, I guess, but I don't know why they would have been in shock. And then, perfect timing, my sister's boyfriend, who was my best friend, walks in the living room at that point. And we're all just in all of our feelings, and he immediately about faced and turned out and walked away. They just kind of wanted to process it that night. They made me stay, didn't let me leave. And then the next morning, things kind of started to snowball. My mom was very religious, so of course she had to save me. It was wrong. She had to save me. And my dad, being a college athlete, Mr. All-America everything, could not face having a gay son, his only son. And so as the weeks went on, he got more upset about it. He said a lot of things that he regretted, but at the time were hard to hear. He told me he felt like I died and he didn't have a son anymore. He didn't want me around my sisters. He thought that my lifestyle would bring them down. So he gave me 3 months to be completely cut off. And I'm 19, this is the end of my freshman year of college. And kind of figure it out on my own. Over those next few weeks, I found a job teaching cheerleading camps in Pennsylvania. So I got a job and I moved. And I didn't speak to them for pretty much most of that summer. And by the end of the summer, they were moving me back into my first apartment, had everything, like they bought me a car. They did all these things to try to make up for it. But it still lingered in the background that they did not approve. And so it was like they were giving me all these things to make me feel better about them, but and at the same time, they were still not approving of anything that was happening and wanted to have some control over how I lived my life. They tried to send me to, they sent me to a therapist actually that was a conversion therapist. And so I basically sat there and listened to him tell me stories about himself, which was not helpful at all. And it was all tied in with Jesus and God and religion. They were going to send me to Arizona to one of those Scared Straight kind of things. I think my dad got cold feet and realized it was not probably the best idea. So they didn't. But then the next few years through college, I only came home, I'd come home at holidays, but I would leave that same night. I never spent the night. I never stayed. They helped if I needed help. They were always there, but it was just always very, very awkward. Yeah. It was. But then over through my 20s, I went back and worked with them. And got to know them on a different level, more like friendly as adults as opposed to parents and child. But it probably took 10 years before things got to a place where we could openly talk about me being gay and it wasn't a phase. My mom and I finally had a conversation where I said to her, it's very difficult to hear you say to me constantly that you see something different for me. God has told you that I'm gonna be someone's dad. I'm gonna have a little boy. I'm gonna do all these things, and it's because God has told you, and because what I'm feeling is wrong, but what you know is right. And I said, you're just really downplaying any feelings that I have as a gay man or as an adult. I'm 28, I'm 29, and you're still telling me that you know what's gonna happen for me because God has told you that. It took a while, but she did finally realize that, it's really discrediting anything that I've accomplished in my life. I will say at almost 42, I've still never introduced anybody to my family, outside of friends. My sisters are totally my best friends and supporters, and, I've just not had the opportunity to introduce really anybody to anybody, so.
That's so hard to deal with even in those initial 10 years.
Yeah.
Now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you cope with that?
Smiling, laughing, just knowing that my friends became my family in those times, my early coming out time through most of my 20s, I've always gravitated towards strong relationships with my friends. And so they became your family, and they're the ones that really help you get through stuff. And so I think that's why I've always had such a strong attachment to friends and have been able to move across the country multiple times and not live near family, and it doesn't really affect me. Outside of within school, or I will say when I got to college and being the token gay friend or the only gay guy working at a club or whatever, I experienced it a little bit different. It was so different than what I thought it would be. I was afraid to let people know initially, and then once they found out, it became interesting to them because they had never met anybody like me. And so I can't even tell you how many people's parents I met. It's like, well, now that I'm at college, now that I'm meeting gay people, these are the gay people I'm meeting, or, see, they're all fine. And that's it was great, but you kind of look back and it's like, oh, see, I met a gay person. Look, they're okay. They don't have 3 heads. They're fine. But I haven't really felt any discrimination outside of that, or before. Yeah, no, I don't know. I guess everybody else's opinion of you is none of your business. So I've really lived by that and kind of not really paid attention to what everybody else has said.
Kind of treated like a specimen almost.
Right. Yeah. Don't let other people's opinion or what you think their opinion will be affect you and make you not want to do things, or not want to be who you are, because let your haters be your motivators. Like, they're only going to make you stronger, and being yourself and being able to realize yourself at who you are at a younger age I can't imagine what that would have been like. To be able to be open and proud, and not just, walking around with a rainbow flag, but just being able to be comfortable and confident with what I was doing and who I was. I really wish that other people could be able to be like that.
Where do you think you found your confidence?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know. I feel like I'm confident when I'm in certain situations, but in others I'm not. So maybe being the token gay man at a club or any group of friends, maybe that helped me be confident amongst most people. But when I'm surrounded by mostly gay men or in the gay community, I don't have as much confidence. Yeah, I know, it's weird.
Because if you were to hide that part of yourself or something.
Right. I don't have a large group of gay. I have a lot of acquaintances, but I don't have a core group of gay friends that I do things with. No. So that's probably, I would say I'm way less confident in that area. I don't think, I just wish we didn't have to separate things. Why does everything have to be so separate? Why can't everything just be normal? That just normalize. Normalize, yeah. Being around friends, cooking, hanging out with friends, traveling. I laugh, yeah. It can only get better. That's it.
I don't know. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with somebody? Because remember, this video is meant to be informative.
Right.
Say if a parent, is thinking, can I put my child in conversion therapy, which I addressed already.
Yeah.
Or it's supposed to be for somebody who, is gay, feels alone.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's, maybe they say when you can be surrounded by 100 people and still feel alone. But I feel like nowadays there's so many ways to be included in things without having to be around people and feeling that inclusion. Just access, being able to access people like you. It's so much easier now. On your phones, you can go onto anything and, find stuff. Whereas I had no idea. All I had was what you were told and what you were shown, and most of it was negative. So I don't know. Access.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.